Hello, Greg. Thank you for joining us. Is there any information that needs to be corrected?
Yeah, the nuance and the correction here is that PG&E has been doing repairs to the South Yuba pipe and their powerhouses at Spalding Lake. The South Yuba Canal, of which NID currently owns about 17 miles of, is not part of the story. It's the South Yuba pipe that actually is right below Lake Spalding and below Lake Spalding Dam that got damaged in a rock slide incident over the winter. So I think that is the correction regarding this sentence. They've been doing repairs on the South Yuba Canal. Now, those repairs are ongoing.
For viewers not familiar with the mechanics of this equipment, can you give us a brief overview of its operation?
So think of this whole structure as an hourglass. This is kind of how I like to picture it. If you think of an hourglass, it's got the top half where the sand is. It's got a middle pinch point where the sand goes through, and it's got the bottom half where the sand eventually ends up. The top part of this hourglass is our snowpack. We've had 2 years of great snowpack. Our snowpack in the spring months starts to turn to water, flows into our upper division water systems, our reservoirs such as Jackson Meadows Reservoir, Bowman Lake, Fauchery Lake, French Lake. Those reservoirs then move water from the Middle Yuba River and the South Yuba River over through into Spalding Reservoir. Spalding Reservoir has 2 powerhouses right below it, where for over 100 years that water has traveled across the South Yuba River to make its way into the Bear River and the Deer Creek system. Now we're through that pinch point. And then the bottom half of the system is our distribution system. So water then travels down the Bear River system into Rollins Reservoir, feeds our customers mostly in Placer County and southern Nevada counties. The Deer Creek system feeds Scotts Flat Reservoir and all of the Nevada County customers. The pinch point right now is the problem. We cannot get the water runoff from the watershed through the powerhouses of Spalding 1 and 2. We can get half the water through powerhouse number 1 now because the repairs were made and completed at the end of July. So that's great.
Thank you for that information. After all the repairs are completed, what is the anticipated time frame to restore the reservoirs to their normal capacities?
We do not anticipate that, well, in order to fill reservoirs at Rollins and Scotts Flat this winter, we need to have a good winter. The infrastructure at Lake Spalding, PG&E's infrastructure at Lake Spalding, is not repaired completely. There's going to be a point next spring where they're going to have to take it out of service again to fix a second horn on the first powerhouse. Powerhouse 2, which we thought was going to be repaired and water could flow through it into the South Yuba Canal, we thought that was going to be done in September. The pipe that was taken off the hill by a rock slide is going to be reinstalled and finalized in September, and that's currently on track. However, powerhouse number 2 has suffered a generation problem, and so they have to take that offline completely and fix it, and that probably won't be until next year. So we're looking at winter, rain, and low elevation snow below that pinch point of the hourglass, which is Lake Spalding, to fill both Rollins and Scotts Flat. We're pretty comfortable on an average year. Rollins is going to fill based on the amount of watershed that's below Spalding. We're hopeful that it will fill. Scotts Flat is a little different story. It's a much smaller watershed. But nonetheless, we are looking at hopefully filling them this winter, but also going offline again next spring, where all of that snowpack in the upper portion of the hourglass is going to also be stopped from coming through the system and into our lower reservoirs of Rollins and Scotts, because in order to make the fixes and the repairs that are still needing to happen on both Powerhouse 1 and Powerhouse 2, they're not going to be able to do that till probably next spring. We are in communication with PG&E weekly, and we're discussing those conversations now. We don't know what the final schedule is going to be. But we're probably going to be in another position next year of lower reservoir levels in Rollins and Scotts Flat.
Gotcha. Since this infrastructure plays such a significant role in our community, are there any requirements that NID can place on PG&E to inspect and maintain their equipment?
You know, those are conversations that are going to be difficult to render. These are owned and operated by PG&E. They're not NID's facilities. So there is a fine line between our reliance on their infrastructure in order for it to be maintained in an order that necessitates water flow through it on a reliable basis. I think PG&E really sees the value of that, and knowing now the outcry from this community as to that single point of failure problem has come to light. I can't tell you actually what that means moving forward and what we can, what NID can impose upon PG&E as their own private company. But rest assured, those conversations will be had, and I think we will do everything that we possibly can from a legal and from a just an operational standpoint and a community-based standpoint to ensure that those systems are up to date and up to speed and operating with the best management practices that are for all powerhouses throughout the country, frankly. So we're hoping that we'll be able to have some influence. And by all means, I think PG&E is receptive, and they are certainly jumping through a lot of hoops in order to move this repair forward.
Again, thank you so much for being here today. Is there anything else you wish to add on this topic?
Yeah, I think, I appreciate the ability to be here with you guys and kind of setting the record straight. I hope this helps. Happy to do it at any time if we need to. But, really this infrastructure that we have as a community is old. We have an infrastructure system that is based from the late 1800s, and we use a lot of the same systems and the same paths that were based at the turn of the century in the 1800s. So we do our utmost best. I think our partners in all of these water systems do as much as they possibly can, and so need our community to recognize that these are long and large systems that deliver and have built our community of Nevada City, parts of Placer, to where we are today with the thriving agriculture, with the thriving recreation opportunities, with the thriving communities through the water that's been able to be delivered to us. And so, I just want everybody to recognize that these are systems that take a lot of effort and energy to maintain and operate on a daily basis. The other element is that sort of foreshadowing into next summer. We're going to need to do our part constantly to try to conserve everything that we possibly can. The more we can continue to conserve this for the remainder of this summer, is only going to be carryover storage for next summer, and will only help with those reservoirs rebounding as quickly as they possibly can by next winter. and then carrying us through the following summer. Hopefully we're good in the summer of 2026, but we are still more than likely going to be looking into conservation next summer.